Welcome to my Christmas message on behalf of J4MB. Firstly, I'd like to wish you and your loved ones a Merry Christmas, and I hope that next year will be a happy and successful one for all of you. In about 6 weeks' time, the 6th of February to be exact, we'll be celebrating the 5th anniversary of the launch of J4MB. We remain the only political party in the English-speaking world campaigning for the human rights of men and boys on many fronts. There's been a dramatic increase in public understanding of men's issues over the past 5 years. We'll be saying a lot more in future about the privileging of women and girls, and why women as a class, with very few exceptions, should be ashamed of their privileges, given that they result in the state's assaults on the human rights of men and boys. People are increasingly recognising that women's privileges must end. Informed, mature women understand that, every bit as well as men. Next year, we'll be hosting the 4th International Conference on Men's Issues in London over July 20th to the 22nd. The keynote speaker will be Paul Elam, who launched the American website A Voice for Men in 2009 and runs it to this day. His talk title will be Female Privilege, Why Women Should Be Ashamed of Themselves. My own talk title will be Men's and Boys' Human Rights Violations Will End When Female Privilege Ends. From the feedback we receive, we know we've played a pivotal role in increasing public understanding, especially in the UK. In the online world, there's an ever-growing mountain of high-quality information about men's issues, but in stark contrast, in the offline world, feminists continue to wreak ever more damage on the lives of men and boys, with women and girls often being collateral damage. Our philosophy and operating model remain the same as they did on day one, and it won't change during my time as party leader. We'll continue to expose feminism as the hate-driven female supremacy ideology it is, with its insatiable appetite for male suffering. There's something that sets us apart from almost all other individuals and organisations campaigning for men's rights. We're relentlessly honest about the state being the source of the assaults on the human rights of men and boys, the state's objectives almost always being the further privileging of women and girls. We're relentlessly honest, too, about the key roles played by feminists in those assaults, and the soil in which feminism is rooted being gynocentrism. The empathy gender gap also is, of course, firmly rooted in gynocentrism. Many of the people working on men's issues downplay or even ignore the role of the state. Some are currently seeking to engage with radical feminist bullies, including Alison Saunders, Director of Public Prosecutions, so far to no avail. Seeking to engage with feminists has been an unsuccessful strategy for decades, and in my view will inevitably continue to fail. With every year that passes, more and more people are accepting our analysis of the state's assaults on the human rights of men and boys, and supporting us as a result. The state is so powerful that there's a need to focus on battles which are winnable given available resources, which for us includes male genital mutilation, MGM. I'll have more to say on MGM later in this message. On the financial front, we continue with the policy we've had since our launch in 2013. Nobody working for the party derives any personal income from party membership subscriptions or from donations. We couldn't do the work we do without income from party members and other donors, so if you're one of them, I'd like to thank you warmly for your support and your faith in us. Supporters have been very loyal to us over the years, and I hope that will continue. For those of you who aren't yet party members or donors, I hope you'll reconsider. Party membership starts at just £5 per month. That's about 16 pence per day. You can find details on party membership by clicking on the Party Membership tab on our website j4mb.org.uk. And if you don't wish to become a member, I hope you'll at least donate a sum each month, even if it's a modest sum. You can do that by clicking on the Donate tab on our website. You don't need to be a British citizen or live in the UK to be a party member or donor. Another way you can support us financially is to buy our shirts. The online J4MB store has a large number of designs, including Men's Rights Are Human Rights. This is what a men's rights activist looks like. This is what an anti-feminist looks like. Loathing feminists isn't a hate crime, it's a civic duty. Feminists are stupid. Throw facts at them. Feminism is cancer. How can you tell if a feminist is lying? Her lips will be moving. You can buy polo shirts or t-shirts in men's and women's styles, or sweatshirts. The shirts are available in a wide variety of colours and sizes, And we've received £2.50. We received £2.50 for each shirt sold. Finally, you might like to add something to your will in order to make a donation to support our work after you've gone. Of course, there are many people who contribute to our work in ways other than financially, although some help us financially and in other ways too. In no particular order, I'd like to thank Tom, Ewan, Ed and Mike for their video and audio file recording and editing. Tom filmed and edited the presentations at the last 2 international conferences on men's issues, and in Australia this year did so despite being in severe pain with a back problem and not having his usual assistant. His work ethic is remarkable. He recently filmed a number of episodes of the Buchanan files, and we hope to publish them on our YouTube channel in the coming months. We've published about 2,000 blog pieces in the past year, and we know from feedback that people find them a useful resource to help them make sense of the gender political landscape. My warm thanks to the people who go to some trouble to point us to useful materials for these pieces, and I'd also like to thank those who post comments in response to them, as well as engage in discussions with other commenters. I'd like to thank Ian for his invaluable legal advice, Dave for his input on the IT front, and in particular the transferring of the J4MB website onto a better and more secure hosting platform a few months ago, after the previous hosting company, an American company, took the site down following a complaint from Dr. Altaf Mangera, a known genital mutilation carrying out his butchery in Coventry and Sheffield. My thanks to Tony, party treasurer, who works hard on our accounts and reporting so that I don't have to. My thanks to Mike for his portrait photography, Tom for supplying leaflets and other materials, often at no cost to us. My thanks to Rick, Stu, Tony, John and Jeff for their ongoing valuable advice in a large number of areas. And last but certainly not least, my thanks to the stalwarts, including Rod, who've turned up for our protests in the past 12 months, both in relation to male genital mutilation and the March for Men on International Men's Day. That was a very inspiring day. I'd like to thank Frank, Natoya, Elizabeth and others for their hard work in relation to both the march and the excellent mini-conference afterwards. Tickets for the event sold out, and it was good to see so many young men in the audience, as well as some young women. A few thoughts on the bigger picture. Men pay almost 3/4 of the income taxes which largely fund the state, but wherever we look at state institutions, we see them in varying degrees of failure due to the influence of cultural Marxism and feminism in particular. The obsessive search for equalities of outcome, regardless of the merit of individuals and the relative numbers of people from different demographics seeking positions, is deeply anti-meritocratic and inevitably harms organisational performance. We're seeing the ever more obvious failure of the criminal justice system, the NHS, state education, and so much more. Even the armed forces are being damaged by an insistence on women becoming front-line troops. The SAS have admitted that in their physical exercise tests, women will need to carry less and need not march as fast as men. So on marches in a war zone, men will have to carry even more than before, because they'll have to carry some of the women's loads, and they'll presumably have to wait at their destinations for the women to eventually arrive. To call it political correctness gone mad would be an understatement. Yet not one politician, not even a Conservative politician, raises a voice in protest. This Conservative government has gone even further than its Labour predecessors in aiming to be progressive, devising and implementing ever more absurd social engineering exercises, such as the notion that people should be able to decide their sex on a moment-by-moment basis. The party deserves to be thrashed by Labour at the next general election, and will hopefully use its term in opposition to start developing conservative solutions to so many of the problems faced by society today. Politicians continue to be fearful of the BBC, the British Brainwashing Corporation. We shall continue doing our bit to expose the BBC's feminist agendas. It's almost impossible to listen to or watch BBC output these days without noticing the woeful influence of feminists in the organisation. This year we've seen ever more high-profile cases of men being charged with sexual offences when there's either no evidence against them, or the evidence showing them to be innocent is not made available by the police to the defence team. There is without question a culture in the CPS and police determined to increase the number of men convicted of sexual offences. The media are starting to call for the sacking of Alison Saunders, Director of Public Prosecutions, but we'd be amazed if that ever happened. We've recently had the collapse of the trial of Liam Allen, 22, who'd been on police bail for 2 years over alleged sexual offences against a young woman. She'd sent plenty of text messages at the time of her relationship with him, which showed clearly that their sex was consensual. The police didn't disclose this evidence to the defence team, and it's not even clear at this stage whether they bothered to examine the phone evidence. Following that, we had the case of Isaac Itieri, 25, charged with the rape of a girl when she was 14 or 15. Her text messages, not provided to the defence team by the police, indeed the key policeman in the case was the same man as in the Liam Allen case, indicated the girl routinely presented herself as being 19. The case collapsed after he'd been in prison for 4 months, awaiting trial. And Danny Kay, 26, was released from prison after being there for 4.5 years, after material from the alleged victim's Facebook account was made available. One of the most important factors driving public awareness of the assaults on men's rights is feminists' insatiable appetite for male suffering, a direct result of their deep-seated misandry. The more that men as a class suffer, the more people join the dots and see what's going on. I've had many emails from people thanking us for helping them join those dots, sometimes after subscribing to our blog for only a short time. We hosted the very successful Second International Conference on Men's Issues last July in London. Along with others, I greatly enjoyed attending and speaking at the Third International Conference on Men's Issues held on the Gold Coast, Australia, 6 months ago. The atmosphere was welcoming and vibrant, as it always is at these conferences. The Australian hosts made us feel very welcome. My particular thanks go to Robert Brockway and Brian Scandrett. We'll be hosting the 4th International Conference next July, again in London. Tickets are selling rather faster than we'd anticipated, and you have only 8 days left before midnight GMT on the 31st of December to save £40 by ordering an early bird ticket. Those tickets cost £225. From the 1st of January, the cost will rise to £265. The full ticket price can, however, be paid in 3 interest-free monthly instalments, the last instalment due no later than midnight GMT on the 31st of March. After that, no tickets will be available. You could save the cost of your ticket by taking advantage of a generous offer by the leading portrait photographer Mike Stone, who's taken official portraits of so many well-known people. If you look on the masthead of the ICMI 18 website, you'll see a tab titled Saving the Cost of Your Ticket. There you can see a small selection of Mike's work, including images of Gordon Ramsay, the occasionally annoyed restaurateur, Paul Smith, fashion designer, David Cameron, Prime Minister and Mangina, Sir Stuart Rose, former chairman of M&S, Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, Sir James Dyson, designer and founder of the Dyson Company, and others. There are also images that Mike took of speakers and others at last year's London conference, including Erin Pitsey, Paul Elam, Guttorm Grunt, Jan Olaf Flottorp, Janet Bloomfield, Judgy Bitch, Josh O'Brien, Paula Preda and myself. Now, Mike normally charges £400 for a 20 to 25 minute session, after which he provides a selection of edited high-resolution colour or black and white digital images with all usage rights included. At the conference, he'll be charging attendees just £99, which will save you more than the cost of even the full-price conference tickets at £265. If you haven't been to one of the conferences in the past, I urge you to consider attending the next one. Many attendees say the most pleasure they get from the conference is not from the presentations, but the socialising during the conference, and especially in the evenings. And let's face it, where else are you going to have the opportunity of enjoying the company of such people as, and this is in no particular order, Paul Elam, Erin Pitsey, Karen Strawn, Girl Writes What, William Collins, Professor Janice Fiamengo, the Reverend Jules Gomes, the Rebel Priest, Belinda Brown, Anil Kumar, Alison Tiemann, Sargon of Akkad, Nick Langford, Ian McNichol, Tom Todd, Professor Gerhard Ament, Mark Pearson, Barry Wright, and Dr. Randomacam. The evenings at these conferences are very special times. Your memories of them will survive long after you've forgotten the contents of the talks, and we'll be posting videos of the presentations on YouTube anyway. Some people who don't live in London or the South East have expressed disappointment about the event being held for a second time in the capital. I fully understand their frustration, so I want to say a few words about the matter. It's costly to hold conferences of the type that the last 3 conferences have been, with a number of speakers travelling from overseas and over 2 or 3 days. I don't believe that at the present time conferences of this type could be financially viable outside London, but I hope that'll change, and change before long. I do, however, believe there's potential for less ambitious conferences outside London, maybe of a shorter duration. If anyone wishes to host such an event, we'd be happy to give them what advice we can on running conferences, but the financial underwriting of the event and the day-to-day work will need to be down to others. I turn to the subject of male genital mutilation, MGM, which has been our number one campaigning issue for over 2 years and will remain so, in part because carrying out the procedure is illegal, and for this reason alone we believe it to be a winnable battle. There are 3 legal cases in the pipeline in relation to MGM in the UK at the moment. The first concerns Dr. Balvinder Mehat, a Nottingham-based mutilator of male minors' genitals, who allegedly circumcised a young boy without the permission of the mother, who had sole parental custody. The second case is the appeal against my conviction for allegedly obstructing the highway in Parliament Square 18 months ago, during my protest and the protest of others, against the CPS and the police for not prosecuting the criminals who butcher the genitals of male minors. I expect that appeal to be heard in the High Court in the coming few months. Finally, I'm still planning to bring a private prosecution of Dr. Joseph Spitzer, a London-based Moyle, or Jewish ritual circumciser, who claims to have circumcised thousands of male minors. We turn to Parliament. J4MB supporters will need no reminding of the courage of Philip Davies, a Conservative MP who gave a talk at last year's London conference. In 2015 and 16, he hosted the first 2 debates in recognition of International Men's Day, and this year the debate was hosted by another Conservative MP, Jeremy Lefroy. We hope to hear more from Jeremy next year and in later years, and for other MPs to step forward and advocate on behalf of men and boys. And that's it for another year. Public understanding of men's issues continues to increase. More and more people are understanding that feminists are evil, men-hating ideologues bent on destroying civilized society. They work primarily in state institutions to do so, often at the highest levels. J4MB will continue to play a pivotal role in increasing public understanding. I've just turned 60, and I'll personally be campaigning for the human rights of men and boys for as long as my health holds out, hopefully for many years to come. Thanks again for your support.